Finally the time has come, the first international LAN. The biggest nerds in VALORANT are gathered with their clan. They've qualified through a system that nobody understands. But the biggest task remains to fight for their homelands. Welcome to Iceland, I hope you enjoy your stay. Guys, there's volcanoes and a hot tub made of clay. Fighting for glory is how you become the best. Pretty soon a champion will rise. A champion will rise above the rest. There are many opinions. What region has the biggest chance in a week from now to lift the trophy in their hands? NAA or EU brain, or a mixture of the two? Best of luck to all the teams, let's see who makes it through. Welcome to Iceland, I hope you enjoy your stay. Guys, there's volcanoes and a hot tub made of clay. Fighting for glory is how you become the best. Pretty soon a champion will rise. A champion will rise above the best. One last time, welcome to Iceland, I hope you enjoy your stay. Guys, there's volcanoes and a hot tub made of clay. Fighting for glory is how you become the best. Pretty soon a champion will rise. A champion will rise above the rest. Good luck, everybody.
Hello and welcome to the opening day of Masters 2, our first global VALORANT Championship Tour tournament. 10 teams from around the world have traveled to Reykjavik, Iceland to ballot it out for the chance to be crowned the Masters 2 champions. Hello everyone and welcome to the studio here in Los Angeles. I'm Golden Boy. It's a pleasure to be back with you all once again. And I got my analysts here standing by with me from around the globe. We got North America's Veli, Korea's Achilleos, EU's Lothar. Gentlemen, are you ready for the day? Veli, how you feeling, brother? And I like the shirt, by the way.
Thank you, man. I got to rep the best region, but I'm excited. And I'm actually excited that all of us came here together for this week for Masters 2 to watch NA just run through it all. But seriously, I'm excited for our very first international LAN. I can't wait to see who comes out on top, man.
Yeah, Achilleos, feel like you and I have done this before?
Yeah, we have. It's been a little while though, so it's good. It's good to catch up with you. But more important, how's DJ doing? Because I miss him.
Yeah, on esports broadcast, can't go by mentioning DJ. He's doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. How are you doing, buddy?
Good.
Good.
Oh, I'm doing well. Just hanging out here. It's almost midnight in Korea, but that's fine. I have the energy of these matches to carry me through the evening, so I'm ready to see who's going to be coming out on top today.
And Lothar, I've waited so long to finally get to work with you on something, and here we are. How you doing, buddy, all the way in Europe?
I'm so good, man. Who would have thought we're gonna work together at VALORANT, right? It's insane how, you know, the Titan and so on. But I cannot wait. By the way, we're like in a secret level, right? We're in a waterfall.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
You guys are in a waterfall. I got all this smoke around me and stuff. It's gonna be a wild day. I can't wait. But we have a lot of interesting storylines as we enter into our first day of competition. Now, Achilleos, what are you looking forward to the most today?
I don't think I'm alone in this, but it's seeing how Korea is going to do internationally. There's been so much talk about the Korean region since they started getting involved in VALORANT. Obviously, everyone is expecting Vision Strikers to be the representatives here, but it's in fact Newturn who are the better team at the end of the day. They plowed their way through here. And now we get to see how Korea is going to compete against the West, against the other Asian teams that we have here, as well as Latin America, etc. A lot of it is on the back of Solo, this guy on your screen right now. He is an absolute veteran. 33 years old, one of the oldest players out there in just about any esport at this stage. He's the IGL. He's a veteran, comes from CS on teams like MVP, has beaten teams like SK, FNATIC, Mouse in CSGO. He is the foundation of NewTurn. He rallies this squad when they're behind. He tempers their expectations when they're ahead, makes sure that they don't get complacent and can stay focused on the game.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see not just what NewTurn can do, but obviously all of Korean esports and attack FPS. It's something that I think we're all very excited for. But one region, Lothar, that has always stood above the rest in this particular genre of FPS has been EU. What's EU bringing to the table here today at VALORANT Masters 2?
EU is bringing humbleness, you know?
Yeah.
Probably not. But, you know, we're known as the region that sets up the metagame, right? People are always making fun of the no duelist compositions coming from EU, but somehow the changes coming from EU are always adapted by the other regions. And I'm gonna anticipate that this is something that we're gonna see in this tournament. We might, you know, we had almost a month for FNATIC and Liquid to prepare something new for this tournament, and something that maybe other teams will not see coming at all. I anticipate a lot of maybe not even duelist, like duelist-less compositions, maybe just one duelist, and maybe some Sky composition, Viper. This is something that I'm anticipating. The stylistic differences between the regions is something that is gonna shine today.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, EU, what better region to do so? Now, Veli, North America, you know, we've been struggle city in a lot of different esports for the last few days now. What are we expecting here from our region, North America? What should we be looking out for?
Nothing but dominance, but like Lothar said, NA is looking to shine right now. It is not just about Sentinels. I'm gonna have to give a big shout out to version 1. I have to show them love. But you know what? We have to expect the unexpected. Jammies is gonna be in for Whippy, and like Vanity was talking about yesterday, there is such a big difference in playstyles, even the agents. We're talking about a duelist compared to basically someone that runs the board on Viper. So to see the level of adaptation and see a version 1 and Sentinels, along with these other teams, can rise to the top, that's what I'm looking for. It's going to be the clash of the meta.
You know what I'm looking forward to most, fellas? That we are, you know, representing all these different regions, and everyone's going to approach this with no bias, right, Achilles? No, everyone's going to be totally fair in their judgment of these teams, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, man,
I'll try to keep it. I'll try to keep it within some constraints. Obviously, I'm hoping that NewTurn can show up, but that's mostly for the region. You know, like even if they don't go far, I just want the Korean region to be taken seriously, and I want people to see that they are going to be able to perform and attack FPS.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We'll be tuning in with them in a little bit. But not only do we have a $600,000 prize pool for Masters 2, we actually have a whole lot of circuit points that are going to be awarded to the 10 teams competing this week, with first place collecting 400 points. That is a fair amount, if I don't say so myself. And the action starts in the upper bracket today. First up is Europe's FNATIC versus LATAM's KRU Esports, followed by NA's own version 1 facing off against Crazy Raccoon from Japan. And finally, we end the day with a banger. Brazil's YNG Sharks will be taking on NewTurn from Korea. I mean, you got yourself some amazing games that are going to be lined up. And we're kicking things off today with EU taking on LATAM, our first taste of international competition. And FNATIC find themselves in this position because they couldn't quite take the first place finish in the EMEA playoffs. Now, Lothar, why are they still a dangerous team in this tournament?
Well, if someone was watching the final against Liquid, they lost in split, basically, right? They didn't have the split prepared. They basically played like a free duelist composition then, and that's something that Boser explained, that they didn't just have time to prepare, right, that fifth map. But now, 22 days of, well, I would say off time, right? But it's not an off time for FNATIC. They work hard, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
They prepared all the maps. They go in here prepared with the huge map pool, something that KRU might be struggling with. And, you know, FNATIC actually made a lot of changes to the lineup in the beginning, so they're coming in hot, right? They got 2 new players at the beginning of April. By the way, KRU also got 2 new players at the end of March. Yep. So very similar timelines for both of those teams. But FNATIC is one of those teams that is setting up metas. You know, when they made basically the lineup on Bind with Viper, with Sky, with the Raze. That was something that many teams adapted to, and mostly Ascend with the difference on the Jet with CNET. But in general, FNATIC is one of those teams that is always prepared, you know, always. And this is why I feel like KRU will have a hard time against them.
Now, Veli, over to you, though. Want to get your thoughts on FNATIC and the kind of play we should be expecting from this lineup.
I love FNATIC. I think that they're going to be one of the best teams here when it comes to adaptability, and it's because they bring a plethora of different play styles, right? You take a look at Magnum Sky and Dirk Sova, and on maps like Bind, they're used so well. It is smart aggression all the way for FNATIC. Whenever you see a Trailblazer or Sova's Owl Drone, you can definitely guarantee that there's possibly someone behind them to get that kill. It is so smart, but the thing is, Golden Boy, they can flip the switch. They can slow down the pace as well. Mystic on Viper you see it on the screen right now. He can slow down attacks like no other, and I really want to see if they can deal with Latin America's really fast and aggressive playstyle.
Yeah. Now, looking at the other side of the field, we got KRU from Latin America, who are the final team to qualify for this tournament. As we look at their roster, what are the expectations that we should have for this lineup, Achilleos?
It's really tough to say. I think that a lot of people are coming into watching this event with very low expectations. Often people will associate the skill of a team with just like the history of a region in a genre of esports. You know, granted, you know, Korea with TAC FPS, that kind of stuff. I think that KRU is going to be a lot better than a lot of people might have anticipated. They clearly have their fundamentals down. They do study a lot of the European region, so we might see a similar clash of styles here on the maps. We'll have to see what they've developed in the downtime getting ready for this event. But I think that they're a little bit of a dark horse coming into this. I don't think that they're going to be able to make a run into the grand final or anything of that by that measure, but I think that they certainly could really exceed people's expectations and potentially make a run into, you know, the comfortable top 5.
Yeah, that's right. Here are the map stats for KRU. Bind, obviously, Lothar, has not been favorable to them, but something to note there in the footage you saw, this team had to qualify on land in order to get to Reykjavik. So this could very well be what they need, Lothar, in order for them to get themselves over the hump.
Very young players coming from KRU Esports, right? They're all, if I'm not mistaken, below 20 years old.
Wow.
And playing on LAN already in VALORANT, that's a huge advantage. Maybe something that FNATIC will not have, but at the same time, KRU is a team that is a very well-balanced team in my eyes, but they're probably too easy to read for FNATIC. So they're going to have a hard time because they only had 12 days of off time to travel also to Iceland after the finals against Infinity. So they might not have enough time to be well prepared against FNATIC, and they start over with such a big match, right? So this is going to be a big test ahead of them, and I hope they're going to change up a little bit of their pace that they were playing in the past, because they are a little bit on the slower side, you know, and FNATIC is one of those teams that preys on those teams that give them space.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a very unique approach play style wise here for KRU. Veli, how do you feel that could potentially shape things up against this FNATIC lineup that's looking to really put EU in a very dominant position at the start of Masters 2?
Well, the thing is, I think the biggest issue for KRU is the simple fact that they don't spread around the map much like you see with a lot of European teams. And FNATIC, they could funnel in and take advantage of that, right? If I'm on KRU and what I see what they do on Haven, which is FNATIC's second best map, there's a lot of utility synergy that we have, and it's going to be all about Delzik and his Astra. You can see those gravity wells try to pull people in through toxic screens or even nano swarms, but they're going to have to make sure that Delzik stay alive, because if Delzik dies, that's a big part of their utility game plan.
Correct, yeah.
And he's going to have to bring it every single round.
Yeah, well, we're going to see that in a moment here, folks. But be sure to join in on the fun using the hashtag Verizon5G and we'll feature your tweets throughout today's broadcast. Should be a good time. Make sure you get out there and you're talking about the games. Speaking of socials, we had a poll on VALORANT Esports, and fans believe that FNATIC will win today's matchup by 83%. Now it's time for our trusted analysts to do the same. So, gentlemen, Veli, we'll start with you. Let's just go down the line because I know we want to get into the matches. Who do you got winning this one?
Oh, FNATIC 2-0. No doubt about it, GB.
Wow. Okay, spice coming out of Veli. Achilleos.
I have to agree. I think this is going to be a 2-0. I think depending on what the map draft looks like, it might be a 2-1, but either way, FNATIC taking the win.
Okay, and Lothar, finally for you.
Well, if we would have 5 analysts here on the desk, one would have said that it's KRU, right? But it's not me. I'm gonna say FNATIC. They're gonna take it probably 2-0, but close matches.
All right, well, it's going to be some great games, without a doubt, folks. But that is it. Are you ready? Because the games begin in Reykjavik right now.
Welcome to Masters, ladies and gents. FNATIC facing off against KRU to kick things off. I can't imagine a better way to test out the global talent coming into this tournament. FNATIC, of course, deemed as the mad scientists of Europe, constantly evolving that meta, pushing boundaries, changing it up, and KRU. I've not heard the word dark horse thrown around since 2013 Katy Perry. These boys are the real deal, and we've got to see what they can bring to the stage. And of course, before we get to that, we've got to also look towards the map veto. What do these two teams want to do when it comes to the stage that they play towards? The battlefield is going to be set any second now, and of course we've got our expectations. You're probably not going to see too much play to the likes of, you know, if you're playing FNATIC, you might want to take out Bind. But I'm of course not alone in bringing you this and theorizing what's coming up. I'm joined by the one and only Hypoc. Now, how are we feeling today coming into this, especially with that map veto now just moments away?
I mean, yeah, it's going to be a very exciting matchup. I think, obviously, the big talking point, obviously, already covered on the desk briefly, is FNATIC and obviously Split. I don't think, you know, when we look back at the improvements overall, I don't think it's going to be underprepared this time around. But is KRU the team really? There you go. No surprises. Straight away comes through. Here's their permaban. So not going to see it at all today, Lauren.
Yeah, as par to expectation. Whether or not they've worked on that behind the scenes, and there, as highlighted earlier, KRU going to take away Bind. A very good veto to start with so far, I think. The safest beginning, but this now leaves it up to KRU to set the pace on that first map choice, and it looks like Haven's going to come through.
Yeah, and that's actually a more interesting one. We can break that down in a second. Obviously, wait to see FNATIC come through and select here next. Actually, going to go ahead and pick attack on Haven as well. That's,
okay,
yeah, that's
not too unexpected, but it's...
Yeah.
It's okay. It's going to set maybe a tone.
It does indeed. As again, expectations-wise, I mean, the rest of the map pool. Icebox coming through is an interesting one. That's
okay.
I mean, that leaves an interesting dynamic for the decider here. Obviously, being Ascent, which actually leans a little heavier in KRU's favor, I would say. I mean, FNATIC no slouches at all on that map, but definitely makes it interesting. I think FNATIC potentially left this open to expect the 2-0 closeout, Lauren, honestly.
Yeah, if it goes all three, that's when we are gonna have to put a question mark potentially beside who wins it. But the man on the screen winning hearts and minds, it seems. The press conference for him, they discussed the map veto. Boaster aware that there was some faults, there were some flaws, and yes, in a best of 5 grand final, you could see them being pushed. However, best of 3 to begin with, they should be able to operate comfortably. But again, for the people out there who depend too much on statistics, for example, they'll look at Icebox, they'll look at KRU and go, they've got it sewn up in the bag, but it's only 3 played games. Yes, they were good games, but again, that's within a region we don't get to see too often. And this is the chance to actually see, are they really a dark horse? What is that level of competition coming in? These are all questions we can start reiterating once we get into the game. There's no point over hashing it. I know everyone's been out there kind of dedicated to the crumb trail. They've been trying to hoover up of both these teams. Oh, what's going to happen? But there is a real threat with KRU. I think Akilio said low expectations, and I almost disagree. I think they've actually got some quite high expectations from not only their region, but a lot of the analysts out there. I mean, you've got your plat chatters out there, you know, a couple of pieces and a couple of people definitely giving them a little bit of room. Maybe because of the playstyle that we've heard of, maybe because, hey, they run very similar comps to EU. They've got a little bit of that stylistic matchup that could be interesting, but do you think it's enough to best FNATIC?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? In terms of expectations, yes, this is a huge opportunity for effectively put the region on the map, right? A big kind of, is anomaly the right word? To be drawn up against FNATIC as well. Like you said, we're taking inspiration in certain aspects from strategies, compositions, but this really is the real test. It's like, you know, can they do it better than FNATIC, right?
Isn't that just the quandary on most of our minds? And of course, as the players settle in, we will start looking towards the agent select as soon as they are comfortable. There's no rush on that, really, because I'm just happy we get a LAN. Like, can we be honest here? Like, I know we're doing the whole, like, hype thing and it's Masters, but, like, we're on LAN. We get to see regions now playing each other that, again, you can theory craft and you can analyze, you can pore over the replays and you can read into it what you will, but finally we get that real litmus test of, okay, are FNATIC going to be able to get over those nerves, right? It's a big point for them. They made big roster changes and it worked out. to at least get to here. But now they're on the stage, they're young guns, they brought in new firepower. It was a bit of a plug and play, as Boaster did say. It wasn't a super hard change up in that aspect, but still, it is new players, new environment. And, well, they already said on the desk that KRU, they've already kind of, I guess had their mettle tested in a LAN environment, and hey, they won the thing. So this is going to be a little bit of a telling sign as to what to expect in the bigger picture. And from what I've heard, FNATIC haven't been showing too much off here. They've been trying to keep a little bit of their practice quiet when it comes to scrimming other teams at Iceland.
I think it's no secret that FNATIC are going to play their cards very close to their chest in this aspect. But again, game one, day one, do we see FNATIC really dig deep in the playbook, bring out some of the, that Summon FC geekiness, right? That was initially what put them on the map. Whether or not we're going to see it early on, really depends whether or not KRU can test them. That's my honest opinion here, Lauren.
It's going to be tough to decide between the two, and I don't envy the analysts having to make predictions, and I'm gonna just not do it. So I'll just say I'm excited to see how it goes, but I'm trying to think of agent select here when it comes down to these maps. Now, of course, FNATIC were one of the teams that did bring the new meta into effect. They were one of the first to kind of highlight what can be used. However, they do shy a little away from Astra, for example. They do utilize her when needed, but not constantly. It's a little bit of a here and there thing. For example, Brimstone gets brought in instead, and even said that they just feel it's a little more viable in what they want to do with it. Do we think we're going to see any big meta changes on the agent select, or do you think it's going to be playing to safety here?
Much to the point I just made, I don't think we're going to see anything crazy in game one here, unless, things get, we start pushing towards the desperation strats, right? We start digging deep and start experimenting with things. If we look at composition-wise, I don't think there's massive differences in terms of, play style-wise, what we're going to be expecting to see out of both teams, KRU and FNATIC. Obviously, previously, on Haven in particular, FNATIC started messing with some of those kind of set plays with Astra that look fantastic, right? And expectations-wise with KRU on, particularly on defense, if they leave that to chance and they kind of give FNATIC any space at all in the early round, we know how quick FNATIC are to punish that.
It seems as though they are just going to get themselves set up here. May take a second or two, but this does mean that you guys at home can start telling me your predictions. I always want to hear it. Use the hashtag, of course, get on Twitter. I want to know who you guys are predicting this. And don't just give me a name. Give me a little reason as to why. Give me a little bit of a... See, look at this guy. See, you want to vote against him? No, you can't. You can't. The moves. But there is something to be said about having someone like Boaster to lighten the mood for the team. These are young players, and we'll say it time and time again. We'll have to constantly go over because it is a big point that at this point, you do need someone who's going to be that emotional lift. And I think a couple of people were surprised seeing the likes of Yampy, for example, through the vlogs that Liquid were doing, being such a huge element of a mood lifter, a refocuser, someone to bring them back to that element, which is incredibly imperative. So I feel as though Boaster does play a big role in this, and it does add to the weight on the shoulders, right? It's something that is going to have to be brought up, that you got to hope for Boaster's sake they're all in the right place and the mindsets are right, because it's going to be hard to lift them back up if they do start on a downward trend. Emotional players, highest highs, lowest lows, but they have the structure, and that's something we can't say enough. And I've got to say it, KRU do as well. They're a team, to me, that have constantly seemed phenomenal when it comes to that. They have that kind of surround to them. They have the strategic approach that gives them that safety as individuals, that they don't just need that, I guess rolling it back, tens and friends, screaming team, right? You can play as a collective. You get to have all of it.
Yeah, I think, if we look back, we start talking kind of concerns or win conditions, right, Lauren? It's whether or not KRU can really find value from some of these more unorthodox rounds. Some of the biggest losses we've seen from FNATIC regionally have been versus teams that are able to really embrace the chaos of playing a very fast and loose game and switching things up constantly round by round. Now, for KRU, they need to be able to nail those rounds consistently, but also be prepared to remain very disciplined in terms of the rounds that they play out slower.
Okay, so let's then talk about win conditions. As of course, we are filling a little bit of time, so keep yourselves locked in. Don't worry, we know it as well. We're here with you, but it does mean we can kind of talk a little more nonsense. Now, win conditions for, let's start with FNATIC, right? It's the easier go-to. We've seen them a lot, especially as we are more predominantly EU casters. So in your mind, let's set the bar, right? Let's talk about those win conditions that get them this game, and then we'll flip the switch and talk about crew as well. What do you see being, let's say, 2 or 3 just very key components that would create that avenue for them to collect this victory?
I mean, honestly, the win conditions for FNATIC are being able to really nail those choreographed rounds. I think overall, those are the ones that make it very, very difficult for a team to adapt to on the fly, because FNATIC have so many of them, right? We know the playbook is so deep for FNATIC. Now, really, again, from what I just mentioned, it's some of those unorthodox rounds that are the ones that can be FNATIC's demise, right? And then you see a kind of snowball effect of they keep doubling down on this early round aggression on defense, and it gets punished time and time again because they're so eager to try and condition the enemy team into doing certain things. If that doesn't happen, then it's almost like, actually, in terms of being versatile and adapting to those things, FNATIC have struggled in the past.
Okay. So then we'll take that as a starting point. Let's flip it to crew. Let's talk about what you see being potentially their gateway into this, because I think the map pool definitely caught your eye in that regard.
Yeah, and particularly on Haven, it's going to rely a lot on crew finding value from kind of their default setup, because there's not a lot of contingency plans in crew's gameplay, right? It's very slow, it's very methodical, but they play very, very deep, and they respond to any information they're given, right? But it's not usually 2 or 3 players coming in. There's not really any secondary layer to that default, right?
Right.
As soon as they find contact, it's usually a 1-for-1 trade or a 2-for-1 trade. And actually, more often than not, when that doesn't go in their favor, it's very difficult for them to recover rounds.
Okay, so we'll keep our eyes on it. And I think this is something that could be a misconception for potentially some people who've maybe either watched previous games, previous FPS titles, especially, the likes of CS. When you think LATAM, when you think of these sort of regions, you think hyper-aggression. However, I don't think crew necessarily play to that. They play a very considered game style. Now, for me, when I think about this, I also then consider, well, how often do they get tested in that region? How often does someone know what they're doing, have a counter to it, and potentially run it themselves? I'd say FNATIC play very much a similar aspect of game as their opponents do. This isn't necessarily a massive mismatch of playstyle. This is quite similar, but I just don't know the depth of crew yet. And that's my big point that I'm going to be looking for, is when things either get worked out, get considered, get maybe even countered, where's that next step going to come from?
And also, you talk about crew and the default setup. That's really going to be tested here. We know once FNATIC are able to set the pace and take rounds on their terms, then they just continue to punish. They could put you in a stranglehold, and things really, really spiral out of control. So, FNATIC are playing confidently. Expect them to really flex out on their defensive half.
And expectation-wise, let's kind of drill it in on map 1, which would be Haven, if I'm not mistaken. Where do you see this? Let's talk about kind of expected favor of map, right? Like, let's just kind of, I guess, take account for results and kind of ignore the fact of potentially the different regions having varying results. One may look a little stronger and one may look a little weaker potentially if they have better opponents, for example. However, would you say this map is favorable heavily towards one side? Do you expect a win there, or do you think this could be a close call?
I think Haven will be pretty comfortable for FNATIC. And I think that comes down to just the way in which they're able to improvise in the early round. And again, it's the level of success they find on defense. The fact that they're starting on attack, actually, I think is more of a concern for crew, right? Because they play very, very deep. They play very, very reactively, which with a team like FNATIC, you give them an inch, they will take a mile. And they will continue to push and exploit those gaps.
No, I'm with you on that. And the results say somewhat the same. I mean, take what you want from that game against Liquid. It was a good look for FNATIC. I think that's the big telling sign to me. Now, again, of course, I've watched bits and pieces of Crew's approach on Haven. We've all poured over the same old, I guess, footage, right? We've all seen the game against Infinity especially, and it was a good game. Their Astra looked solid. I liked what they did with the utility on Killjoy, for example. I'm curious to see what roster they bring out. I don't know how many times they've run that Astra kind of Killjoy look that they brought in that Infinity game. However, it could be time to now see them refining that, for example, because yes, the boys did mention on the desk, they haven't had as much time to maybe acclimate to these opponents or maybe kind of work out and flesh out more of that idea, but they seem to play it very well. They really understood the theory. I do want to know how deep their understanding can go now.
Yeah, I think really, yeah, that's it. And coming back to the map pool briefly, obviously, I mean, Crew didn't actually play Icebox across challenges, at least the final stages. It's like, actually, some good news there. Somebody's got into game there, Lauren.
We do like to see that. It does mean that Agent Select won't be too far away, or at least we'll get to have confirmation on what they went for, hopefully any second now, and there we go. So right into Agent Select, of course, brought to you by Prime Gaming. Now, anything standing out to you here? I'm going to leave this one to you. Just briefly run me through anything that catches your eye.
Nothing actually standing out too much. I mean, expectations-wise, it was different. Potentially, yeah. That's a slight adjustment on the side of Crew from maybe what we're expecting. And that's on the side of FNATIC. A little bit of switch up as well. I'm potentially looking to pull something out of the bag here. I mean, I said I wouldn't expect it in game one, but it might actually be on the cards here for FNATIC, as just about to get game one underway here, Lauren.
All right, deep breaths. We are about to dive into game one of Masters. FNATIC up against Crew. LATAM facing off against the EMEA. The European side, of course, of FNATIC here. Going to kick things off, and it'll be Crew on the defensive side and FNATIC on the attack. And you've got to keep your eyes on those young guns coming in. You've got your Dirk, you've got Magnum. These two are heavy hitters. And it looks like a quick piece to begin with. Already Dirk just going to put his body on the line, fly right in towards the site.
Actually come through, yeah. It's 2 for 1 in favor of Crew, actually, and B&J actually They'll find another one, and we'll find the third. Doma falls now down to just Magnum as he comes up short. He'll come through, try and swing on. We'll get that headshot through. Tag down to about 70 HP. A lot left to do, and Klaus actually going to close that one out. And actually, like you said, a very fast piece coming through towards A side, but well handled by Crew, in particular B&J.
FNATIC, did you just try and go quickly against a LATAM team? FNATIC? Hey? No. Don't be doing that. Don't be hold your horses here. But a great start, and I think that just proves the firepower that we know is with this region specifically. But we have to now see what they can keep doing down the line. This will bring the economy favorably, and of course we get to see the new UI as well. Look how cool this looks. You get to see everything. This is great, but also huge shout out as we are going to be seeing a bit of a lighter investment, no armor to supplement the sheriffs and bits and pieces for FNATIC, whereas Crew, of course, going on the full-on SMG buy-up. Unless FNATIC start to turn some of this, we can kind of give a big shout out to our observers as well. Prius, Sapphire, and Yeti bringing you all the action live from in-game, and you gotta love your observers. They're the ones that make it look damn good. Exactly, right? Like, can't mess around with that. But into the game we go. Looking at the utility usage, this looks very similar to what I came to expect, at least watching Crew's previous games coming into this tournament, especially Delzik being such an integral piece playing in towards Garage, and I'm sure FNATIC have looked over the same things, but Doma going to claim a quick kill out of nowhere. B&J, the danger man from the last round, is now down.
This is on the back of actually a lot of presence shown on the side of Crew. I mean, B&J and Exit actually showing their face over on A. Delzik now just anticipating Magnum drifting through into Garage here, but we'll
this
back
contact
away.
on A.
Yeah.
If they just go subtle, now, yes, Nagzet does find one, but they're going to lose position on long. This is where they could maybe overwhelm, but no! Out of nowhere, the huge deny, shut down. There was so much opportunity for maybe a spike plant, get a little bit of a punish, maybe take away some of that economy, but now it's just in tatters. Magnum, great player, but this one, way out of check.
A really, really nice round once again from Crew. I love actually, just in the early round, making a really good read, right? The fact that FNATIC are going to come in, try and take close contact in sewers, just throwing the wall down, just to put the brakes on. We know, obviously, FNATIC like to get early round control in terms of looking forward to this. It lines up perfectly here, and the last comes through. Doma able to trade that one out. That's a little weapon switch onto the classic for the last. A really nice round from Nagzet.
Okay, so we do have the rifles. Now we do at least have the, what we like to call the bonus round for Crew, so they will be sticking on the lighter purchase, but so as expectation should be, this should be a FNATIC round, but let's see what damage could be done by Crew here. So far, looking for potentially the fight, or at least the shoulder peek towards long, and that's going to get Durka at least on notice, but they are still holding a default for FNATIC.
Little jump spot there. Durka will find head at least. No damage put through. And FNATIC now, I guess, anticipating them trying to convert these weapons. But nobody from crew actually overextending too far. They come through, find well, no information, but information nonetheless through sewers here. Actually, that's going to force a drift away from A side and some aggression elsewhere.
You've got to keep this clean. If you're on the fan side of FNATIC, you want to see them not get, I guess, lax in this by any account. Klaus on the other side waiting. Boaster starting to build towards, at least indicating the hit may be coming through. You can see the utility put towards A. He's facilitating that. Maybe a quick flank for him. BNJ, though, going to get all the information. And the dash does come out from Durka. He's on the side. The snap comes in. No damage done yet for crew. And here comes that lurk from Boaster. Lovely work from him. Good read on these rotations. Going to be outnumbered now. Needs to keep that rifle if they want to keep this clean.
Yeah, Klaus comes through, pinched perfectly. So we'll get one upgrade here. Will they consider coming through and finding, or trying to find a little more damage? You creep through A link, but the wall down over spawn, I guess, going to change viability. At least to make it a little harder for them to come through and find it here. Maybe just try and keep some of FNATIC on the site to die to the spike, but I think anybody's really going to make any moves there, Lauren.
No, this is... Klaus can keep that rifle. Delzik, if he could get an exit or two, that's kind of the game plan. Not going to be able to get any FNATIC out of there. Actually does get a little closer. Nah, no one to be found. Going to just opt for the spike's way out. And Klaus can at least bring that through to the next round. I guess this is a tick in the box for FNATIC. They did do a nice clean round. They kept 4 rifles up. They convert and get themselves on the board. Crew did a little bit of damage. I'm sure they'd have liked a little bit more out of that.
Yeah.
You know, if they could have cost them a couple more rifles, that could have been huge for the economy. But this is as we expected. Now we get to the fun part, right? This is where it gets a little bit more interesting, is this first real buy round coming in. And what does crew look like in these? Because we know what FNATIC look like. We've seen a little bit more of them. It's kind of been tried and tested to an extent, but crew are a little less of a known quantity.
Indeed is. Going to trade out Sky Flashes at least on A here. Nags once again set up to greet this aggression on short. Actually doubled up with the Trailblazer. Durka will find it.
Yeah, Durka's looking pretty loose here. That's great for him as well. Just that confidence is key. Young players starting off really well, building up confidence could be massive. So that's big work for him. The Seekers, as you highlighted, going to come through. And it doesn't give too much, really, at this point. Sky is left to isolate and kind of hold A on their own. And you can see the kind of causation and the effect now of just being that player down. And FNATIC looking elsewhere for that next step. Delzik could be on the chopping block, but he's solid at holding this.
Other than the first blood, it's... I was going to say, other than the first blood, it's a big win there for FNATIC. They could drift away with the Seekers invested also. Nobody from crew actually going to come over. B&J now trying to tuck in towards sandbags.
Yeah, timing works out so perfectly for FNATIC. They're going to get everything going for themselves. And once again, that constant pressure now in the back of their minds, that mid-lurk coming out from Boaster. But Klaus with a really good shot towards Durka denies that quick start. Now, it's going to at least kind of slow them down for a second, cause a little bit of a pause for thought, but the rest of the site's going to be swarmed, but Klaus denies. A huge 3K from him. Those 2 kills were integral. Now, Boaster feels like a mile away. The spike's now going to be lost. Boaster has to pick up the pieces. Finding Delzik is the first step. Klaus a little less than ideal on HP. Big work from Boaster. This is scrappy. And somehow FNATIC pull it back.
A great recovery on that. Klaus does absolutely fantastic to find all those kills over on A, but somehow, I mean, I thought Boaster was potentially going to be lost in that lurk. There was a moment where, again, the situation comes through where they're able to potentially pinch him in B, but he somehow finds both of them through A link. And right there, I got to say that's kind of a miracle, a blessing for FNATIC to close that round out with how things went down on A side, because they lost the spike as well, Lauren. It was deep on the site.
I thought that was done for, but yeah, Boaster pulling it out of nowhere for this, and that's a huge bonus for these boys, having your IGL not only operating on that sort of level, but also bringing it through in the game as well. So, already Durka going to just try and keep that economy looking healthy for him. Going to depend on the knives out for this one. Of course, on the other side, we do have Sheriffs, a little bit of armor around it as well. Klaus and Nagzek going to at least opt for light armor and the rifle in the hands of Mazzino.
playing much deeper this time around, and FNATIC kind of leaning towards Garage initially. I guess just trying to get a feel for whether or not there's a stack anywhere. Maybe playing with lesser weapons, trying to close the distance and get the most value out of them. But 50 seconds left and no real moves made by FNATIC as they now look to creep towards the entry of B. Now, there is an alarm bot there, so Crew are going to have an opportunity to recover, should they? But Klaus actually going to spot both members out outside B. A little bit of damage goes through, but no kill.
Yeah, the Viper Wall can at least temper what could have potentially built off that Sage Wall, but there's Magnum still finding the Danger Man who did have the rifle. That won't be able to be filtered back. Now we look at potentially the damage to the economy, and at the moment they're not finding too many chances. Durka's going to slowly fall away from this, get himself the rifle that was lost, so at least going to keep everything tickety-boo for them. And the last three still just looking for a chance to do some damage here, and really FNATIC aren't giving them many opportunities.
No, they now find themselves in a 3v5 retake here, and not an awful lot left to do. Once again, I just looking to get some damage on both the catches. Tags inside. Garage, Durka comes through. The pinch is perfect. Magnum close things out. Delsic falls, and a flawless round there from FNATIC. Really, really well considered. Once again, like taking all the time that it needs to in mid, anticipating that aggression from Crew, and it never actually came through. It's only really Klaus taking contact on B that, on both sides of the coin there was the turning factor. As soon as that comes through, FNATIC lean back in towards Garage. They know that nobody's holding close there. It leaves C wide open.
I want to see what this double stack on short might do for Crew here, because they're at least going to come back in with the buy. See if they maybe get a little bit aggressive. And it's going to be Durka on the other side as well. So yeah, BNJ going to be posted up for the fight. And yeah, just straight up loses it. Durka is on today, and he's going to double down on it as well. Massive entry work from Durka. And you can see the pace he's going to work with. He knows the two that have been playing the site. Yes, Klaus does lean over here, but with it being so quick and so successful, they've got it all. This is a wrap in my mind. They're already backing away towards this.
Yeah, 30 seconds in, you see already Crew have gone all the way back towards C site. Just going to give this one up. Maximum progress. Actually, I'm just going to retrieve the orb as well. They know they've got the time and the space to do so.
I mean, I wonder how good's FNATIC's money at this point? Could they go for a chase to get some of these guns away?
I think at least three of them, are going to have the opportunity to come, but whether or not FNATIC want to punish this. I mean, Doma's now one away from the res. Durka 3 out of 6 on the Blade Storm as well. Could potentially come through and get a little more ult progress, and like you said, punish the economy of Crew even further. And utility-wise as well, if you look at Crew, other than the 2 snake bites, see, going to be a little bit of a repurchase here. FNATIC do creep towards Garage. Might just take a little poke. I don't think they'll try and commit to this.
Yeah, you can see Delta desperately trying to hold on to this. Doesn't want to lose these rifles. 3, you can kind of spread the wealth around and kind of drop out the rifles, maybe try and build up a bit of a buy around it, but we're also going to highlight Mazzino and Delzic off to a bit of a quiet start. Mystic the same, but again, if you're facilitating the pieces of Sky, I don't mind too much. But Delzic, I mean, the hits haven't really been coming their way. They have been predominantly towards that A site, I guess, apart from that kind of buy against a little bit of a half buy towards C, but still, I'd like to see them both finding a little bit of form just to see the full power of Crew, because right now, FNATIC are starting to look comfy. Like, the money's getting a little bit too comfortable for me. You've got 8.4, 6.3, 7.7. They're starting to get all of it building their way, so hopefully they can maybe find an answer to this. And I don't know how you shut down someone like Durka, who's just already off to a belting start. Yeah. The man is just flying through this.
And I mean, the big thing is, economy-wise, now FNATIC can start taking a few more risks, right? They now have a little bit of freedom to play around with things on the attack. As I assume we do have a little bit of a tactical pause coming through. Probably on the side of Crew, maybe to just reconsider things here. I think you make a good point, and really, again, look towards the new guys for FNATIC. Yes, we could talk about LAN experience and maybe a few jitters along the way, but for me, it's a huge positive. It goes without saying to see Durka, put on those, just stringing together a couple of kills early on. Those, I guess, regionally would have been the concerns, right? Coming in would be, there is a chance that, FNATIC, I guess, transition from the roster changes. There's still going to be issues.
Now, the thing that comes to my mind as well, and this is something that I guess you can talk about when it comes to younger players especially, is the difference a couple of good rounds can make. That confidence that, oh no, I'm good. Like I've got that hot hand today, everything feels fine, like I'm smooth, I'm feeling the game out. And for Durka to have a good beginning, that's just a huge confidence boost for him. That means that suddenly all that pressure that maybe he was feeling, just going to be alleviated instantly. Just going to be feeling out the game. If he keeps that up, fantastic for him. That's a really big tick in the box for FNATIC. Now for Crew on the other side, I think I want to see what answers they come up with here. I want to see how they try and deny these stunning entries from Durka. I mean, the guy's found form early and it's hard to deal with. We've seen other teams having the same problem, trying to shut down big boys on the entry, right? It's not an easy thing to instantly counter. There's something about it. You know, you got Yampy doing something similar as well. So, well, I want to see what the answer is from Crew.
Yeah, and the problem is the other side of what we just saw with that little bit of aggression into sewers. I call it a set piece if you like. That being shut down straight away, I don't want that to be, you know, Crew just thinking, oh, we're not going to get away with that. We can't do it again. Because that, actually, like I said before this game started, before this map even started, Crew need to find value in those unorthodox rounds, the ones where they just make a slight adaptation, right? Because I think if they just sit deep and try and react to what FNATIC are doing, we know how quick and how well rehearsed and choreographed some of the site hits from FNATIC can be. And actually with Durka hitting shots like that, again, they don't even need to rely on that. They just need to rely on Durka kind of going in and bread and butter playing entry.
I just heard that Viper just constantly jumping on the box. Thank you, Observer. It's just Yeti's like, no, we're going up to the rooftops. Get away from it. But all said, at this point, it does seem as though it's a technical pause rather than tactical. So, yeah, I was like, well, this is a long one, but hopefully it all gets resolved nice and quick. Again, I'd rather have these players at 100% than anything less. So we can kind of maybe take a step back, and I'm going to be honest, the start of this, the first couple of pistols are like, oh my, these boys built different. They've got some wild aim, and they did. And FNATIC coming in with that mad aggression on the pistol, I was getting a little nervous, if I'm honest with you, but it seems to have kind of fallen into the right place, at least for Durka. But yeah, I'm looking to see if Crew do side to maybe get some. It's hard to find an answer though. Like we talk about, okay, defensive side of aggression, right? Well, if you go for the fight against Durka, you're going to be met by sheer force, and it seems as though he's on today. So we're about on the rest of the map. But bear in mind, FNATIC are holding a good default throughout this. So it's going to be tricky for them to find that kind of avenue of approach. You could sit deep on the site potentially, make FNATIC take side control, but these boys are solid at executions. They have really good set pieces. This is where I think we were always constantly going to ask the question when it came to Crew that we highlighted at the start. How deep is their knowledge when it comes to being pushed out of their comfort zone? Because we know they dominate when they don't get tested on these things. But if they start being pressured, how deep is that answer? Do they have that strat book, that little bit of kind of maybe a go-to that they could maybe look towards?
I mean, the other thing, and again, I was call it a criticism if you like, but talking about Crew not having kind of a contingency plan behind their default, just a small thing like Magnum always playing that flank control. Always having the turret outside, garage double doors and being there. The thing is, FNATIC are always ready to react on that. Every time they fight for this A lobby control or A long control, if there's contact anywhere else, they're ready to capitalize on it. And actually just switching things up as soon as they then don't fight for A lobby control, you've got the problem with then it's potentially 3 or 4 players stacked up outside garage, and that's so easy to overwhelm.
You get to enjoy how cool the stat looks, at least. That's one bonus. Like, we can stop being super serious until the tech pause is chilled out. They've got branded coffee cups. Like, why don't I have that?
I was just saying,
like drink cups. Like, give me some of this.
Yeah.
Hook me up. I'll hit the start game again button if you send them over. But it does seem as though the tech pause will be carrying on for a bit, and we've kind of discussed our thoughts at least on this matchup. But there's plenty more to be said today. Like, look at that. They can keep that Red Bull in the cups and everything. Oh. Unfair. Unfortunate. I just get my little sippy cup so I don't dribble on myself. But at this point, we do have to talk bigger picture because, again, a lot of people are touting this to be not necessarily a huge chance of an upset, but it could have been something to maybe catch FNATIC off if they weren't on their A game. They look fine so far, but it's only map 1 and we're barely into it. So you then kind of look towards the bigger picture of things, right? Like, how much do we read into Scrimbucks? Are you all aboard the Scrimbucks conversation? Like, where do you sit on Scrimbox? I gotta see it now.
It's a difficult one. I think when you talk about
don't half
like,
it. Come on, all in, dude.
No, I'm staying on the fence here. I'm staying on the fence. I think when you think about teams like FNATIC in particular, they're not a team to ever really show you in one series of scrims kind of everything they've got. I just can we again? I petitioned for this. I petitioned for this in EMEA. We need Boastapov just the whole time. Just a camera fixed on Boaster's desk.
He puts on a show, you know, the dance moves. There's so much to go through, but yeah, I mean, as said, I think for me, when I look bigger picture now at the tournament, if FNATIC can deliver in this, I think at least we know where EU somewhat stands to an extent. And I think people have not overcommitted to their hype behind Liquid, but I think if anyone followed Liquid's trail into this tournament, this was a good run, but it was pretty dicey before that. But it does seem as though we're back underway, so I will shut the hell up and start talking about the game in front of us, because yes, there's the timer. Look, I wait till you see the timer go down, and like, all right, no worries, here we go. 4-2 here, FNATIC up against KRU. It's hard to bring myself back in, but we will be seeing if there's now adaptation from KRU. Their money is in a little bit of a spot of bother. They have 2 SMGs now to supplement those 3 rifles.
Blinded.
Yeah, actually, and again, just talking about that again, Nags. Off the back of that flash in A lobby, just straight away invest the wall to slow things down, just in case a fast hit does come through. Now, Magnum and Durka going to stay put for the time being, and see elsewhere. Mystic and Boaster showing a little bit of presence over towards C. Now, that's going to bring one player in the form of Delzik over towards site. Doma actually looked as if, I guess they're waiting on this wall to fall on A. Actually, Durka going to show on long as well. So this is really interesting here. FNATIC actually now don't look as if they have a good read on the setup. Again, nobody from KRU really overstepping the mark, leaving an opening.
You can see the information wanted to be garnered by B&J. There we go. Gets, again though, it really is just seeing Durka, so it's kind of hard to work out how much there is on this, but the Seekers do go in. So this is pressure across the board. Now look at this misplay, look at this misread, potentially coming out from KRU. Yeah, they're committing to these rotations towards B, but that spike is slowly creeping up through A long. This is sick work. Now they need Durka to at least be the kind of tip of the spear in this. Now look at that. Perfect bait and switch. Put all that attention towards C. Slowly crept up towards A. That's stunning, but there is a chance of a retake here for KRU.
And Boaster way deep, still on C long. Durka now gonna be the front man, like you said, the tip of the spear by the Sage Wall. And actually, counter lockdowns on both sides, both invested here, so it's gonna be chaos on the side. Boaster gotta come through, potentially shut down that lockdown, Lauren.
You got 5 seconds. One's been shut down, the other's still going 2-on-1. So that does mean KRU's gonna have to get out of there, detained. 2 players now caught up in this. FNATIC reaggress. You can see it. Magnum just takes the ball by the horns. Huge work from FNATIC. Denies the retake with a perfect execution. Every analyst, every fan of your thinking man's Valorant will adore what we just saw.
Yeah, beautiful. And actually in the early round, again, like I said, FNATIC didn't look as if they'd got a good read on the setup from KRU, but they run it out long enough. They show presence on both sides, and actually utility invested. Now the Astra divide comes up on C, and it creates this chaos. KRU are left second guessing. Now with 2 players shown, the flash comes through, they actually assume the hit's coming through. And that leaves A wide open. B&J throws a flash over from A link. It doesn't actually flash, but here's Durka dash on behind it. Now that right there, it's just so good to watch around like that back, like you said. It's so well considered when you look at the early round.
Oh, that was gorgeous. I could watch that time and time again. Durka going to be waiting on that heal to work out for himself. Back up to full, looking like a glass cannon, but he'll be just fine with that op. So the first time we're going to see the op coming out for him. A bit of a hybrid when it comes to it. We kind of highlight it on the likes of Icebox, which I'm sure we'll talk about, how varied he can be in that approach. But for now, the first time we get to see it here, so looking to see if he can maybe punish, but it was a little dicey when you're playing it up against the Sheriffs, and there we go. First one to come down, Durka gonna find Klaus. Just slowly but surely, you can see FNATIC trying to just work away at KRU. No rush on it either. FNATIC still have about a minute to play with, so Durka's still happy to be the first one forward. And Delzik trying to find the timing just right, but Magnum's... Oh, no, the timing.
Oh.
That could have been bad, but it wasn't. We're fine.
This is the sort of thing I was talking about here. Magnum having complete control outside double doors makes it so difficult for any aggression. As I say that, Nag's going to find 2 on the way in. Doma and Boaster actually trade back. But damage down on the side of Crew as FNATIC try and bully their way onto B site.
There's a little bit of danger in this. BNJ does at least have light armor in that, but now he's gone. It's done for Doma. Gonna find Delzik, and Op could be recovered? Question mark? Doesn't look as though it will be. For now, across the board, there was a little bit of danger, sure, but it was dealt with immediately. The trade did come back in eventually after that nice little 2-play pickup, but at 6-2, we can't be looking at bits and pieces anymore. You can't be looking at, oh, but that was a nice shot. No, we got to see a little bit more than just that. As you can see, that was Doma just shutting it down at the end. All the contingencies in place, but at 6-2, as said, we can't look at those small wins for the economy. Yeah, this is getting a little bit rough. Oh, and Dirk has got so much room. Coupled with that Astra utility, he can just start building up on this one. Going to try and back away a touch, get the utility work down before he has to get involved here. Sky going to at least slow down the progress, but Magnum's got his back, and in we go already. FNATIC just bullying their way through. This is just brazen aggression, and Crew don't know what to do with it.
And the problem here, I mean, this is the sort of pace change we talk about with FNATIC, where they sit in the default for so many rounds and they show little bits of presence here and there that they'll just stack up as 5 and instead just bully their way onto A site here. Isolating Nags perfectly on long. BNJ, nothing really to do there with 2 players stacked up in sewer as well. It's beautiful from FNATIC. Magnum actually. Oh, there's pants down in the window there. Got to respect it with 10 XP now.
He's fine. Boaster, help me out, dude. I don't want that fight. Actually, tell a lie, he's gone. Oh,
He's still challenged.
he had 10 HP, dude. He had 10 HP. What's going on?
But this is the sort of thing I was talking about, right? You can put this under the banner of, you know, unless you're set up to deal with just how many different looks FNATIC have, it's so difficult to find, you know, map control in the early round. And, you know, early on, the things that I kind of like to see was this wall on contact in sewers, right? I mean, we haven't even talked about Mazzino's setup here. The default with the Viper wall coming all the way across B entry, covering sewers, and then also A long. It should give them a lot more control than they're getting. They're not really finding anything from that. So I do want to see a little bit of an adaptation, a little bit of a switch up. Because it looks as if FNATIC have got a couple of different ways to address this formation from Crew, and I'll be honest, right now Crew don't look as if they have enough in the playbook to stop FNATIC.
No, and this was the worry that I think we came into this with, was they seem to understand some of the concept. They run very similar compositions, but how deep is that knowledge of actually executing those ideas? And FNATIC are just flexing on them now. This is a big display from the boys, and it should be a bit of a call to the rest of the tournament saying, well, no, FNATIC are very much the real deal. They look solid. Delzik can be forced away from Garage for now. Magnum can start progressing through if desired. You can see the little Sky Flash to help out. Boaster be the first man forward, and Delzik does get spotted, but Boaster doesn't look phased by this at this point.
It's just anticipating somebody peeking through from window, but nothing. Actually, Delzik and Mazzino, they come through, try and clear through Garage. Now it's just one. Delzik left solo, so we might just catch Boaster. He does indeed. Seeker's come through, so got to back away now. But the damage is done. First blood in favor of Crew.
Yeah, brilliant timing on that, but there's that mid lurk coming out from Durka this time rather than Boaster. It does get shut down by Nagzit, but there's the res on both sides now invested. Back up to a 5v4. Durka still lost, of course, but Boaster still looking to try and progress through. Garage finds Delzik this time, double down on it, looking for the trouble on it. Boaster is a madman right now. Insane work from him. And Mazzino is a mile away from trying to deny this. Maybe he could find one of them, but can he deny the plant? No, Magnum's got the back, and there it is. FNATIC just flexing now.
Boaster. That was beautiful. But also, just talk about it a little bit earlier on than that. Delzik kind of being isolated in Garage. The Seekers get invested, and as soon as that presence is shown, FNATIC try and lean away. They see the 2 Seekers go directly towards C site. They try and isolate that 1 player on B. This first peek here, beautiful shot at the Klaus, and then finds the wallbang as well onto Nags. FNATIC starting to feel themselves, Lauren.
Yep. The confidence is looking sky high. They're starting to just, it's like everyone's just having that on game here. They've started, it was a little bit of a shaky start. They lost the first two, but by that point, once those rifles came out on deck, it has been pretty much flawless at this point. And we do have the op back out for Durka, so have to keep an eye on what he can achieve with this. It does seem as though, yep, Viper going to invest in towards C, just going to lock that down. Pretty standard at this point.
Again, though, we're 10 rounds in, and we haven't seen Crew kind of dip their toes any further than the top of short on A. That's it. And it's the only area of the map. I mean, yes, you could say, Garage and C, maybe even C Link. Double stacked it. Delta might find one. Actually, yeah, Magnum good for the trade, though.
Yeah, Magnum's been pretty decent at the trading, and the spacing's okay. A little bit of a shame to lose both like that, but Durka's going to be just fine finding Klaus. You can see Mazzino, yeah, you can check C long, but that's not where the problem really lies at the moment, and FNATIC have good map control. B&J still going to be dedicated towards long. Going to have a chance to maybe find one on this, the shoulder peek, and then the reaggress is going to force him off the angle. But FNATIC are keeping the opponents guessing. They show towards A. They've now hit towards B potentially. This is still very much up in the air. It looks like that commitment towards B now comes in. Durka up on top, but Nagset does finally have a good read on this. Getting a little bit trickier, but Doma going to at least keep the site safe. Spike going to go down. A 3v2 post plant.
And B&J actually spotted out here. Maybe isolated in window. Mazzino got to get something done to draw the pressure away from B&J. Will actually find Magnum off screen somewhere. Mazzino comes through, going to clear all the sides. So they should know that actually they've got a decent pinch opportunity.
Yeah, these are scary times now. FNATIC back to the wall, both of them there. Now Mazzino's going to be the first one out. Spots one. Might have heard the secondary gunfire. B&J needs to come around. Can't do it. Mazzino! Oh, tried to dig deep enough for it, but Doma denies. And FNATIC just going from strength to strength now.
Last round in the half.
Yeah, comes down to the final round. And again, I got to say it, we've gone this long without seeing Crew dip their toes in fighting for any of this territory in the early round. Yes, ultimate invested there from Mazzino, and he's able to explore C long, but that's it, right? Explore, and it's solo. So,
they'll take him at this point.
Really, really cheeky kill actually on the window there. But yeah, I gotta say it's just way too passive from Crew. You cannot give FNATIC this much space to operate in.
Yeah, we said it stylistically. This isn't a mismatch. This is actually a pretty close matchup in that regard. But FNATIC are known as one of the best at it. They're the ones who kind of set a lot of this concept towards meta, and for now, they're just styling on it. That's going to be the first pickup towards A long. Now, yes, Klaus does hit those rotations early, but they've now been conditioned to worry about that flank, or at least they should be, because already Boaster is right there. Peeking through on the divide, though, Mazzino going to do the best he can. He does catch the rotation. That's one bonus found for them this round.
They're going to wait out this wall. B&J actually nearly caught off guard, but we'll still find something with the Guardian once again here. Magnum going to invest the lockdown in sewers here, so they've got to respect this and back away from sight for the time being. The flash actually to force them off that angle as well. Going to give them complete sight control here. An opportunity to set up in this post plant. Dome already, it's that wall down. It's going to be able to reinforce with plenty of time left.
Nice post plants coming out. Mystic finding Klaus to begin with. We do see the divide coming in. The last flash put through by Mystic. Going to put it down towards CT. The retake going to start coming through, though. You can see the utility trying to divide it, but Mystic's having none of it. Doma's still there. This retake is going nowhere. FNATIC just holding perfect post plants. They are making Crew feel so uncomfortable in every turn. And for a start, let's real talk this. 10-2 is a huge scoreline.
Yeah, it is, especially when, for me, FNATIC's win condition on this map in particular is having a good attacking half. We know how punishing they can be on defense, how proactive they can be. I mean, their defensive executions here are just absolutely relentless. It's every single round, Lauren. And really, this is the map that, yes, you can talk about Bayern being their strongest. This is the map that I think actually, playstyle-wise, they can flex the hardest on. It really plays to their strengths in being able to be versatile and capitalize off that early round information.
All right, it's got to start with a pistol. Crew fans, you've got to be hoping for it. The deep flash goes in. Mazzino going to start progress up towards C long. Keep your eyes across the map, though. We do have work towards short as well for Crew. Nagzet there going to try and get a little bit of control building. And we've said that crew do play that quite, not necessarily super slow default, but they play a good default. They don't really get caught off by crazy aggression too often. So again, expect a little bit of a considered piece here. And Mazzino's going to punish. Brilliance from Mazzino, waiting so well. Yes, he took damage for it, but going to claim 2 and force rotations. You can see it. Sky's on the way over. Killjoy's already on the way over. This is now going to put Doma on an island.
He's got to find this first kill clean. Or at least find the information. We'll actually get the time in there, and he's going to wall off and respect the push for the time being, but stacked up here. He's actually going to dip back in. We'll find the we'll find the second as well. Doma, he's gone huge for FNATIC here, leaving them in a 2v3 retake.
He's just made that possible. I don't know how he got away with it. He looked like he was dead. He was a dead man walking, but still. The post-plant positioning should be somewhat okay, but there's still utility. That's going to be a bit of an issue. Magnum going to try and work back in, decides to just go for it, gun out here. Delzik, though, going to agree him with a smile. That's Mystic gone now, just in the hands of Magnum. A 1v3, not going to happen, and crew convert the first. It's exactly what they need to build back into this game, as they need everything now.
Yeah, they do. And at this point, I mean, with this round deficit, you know, plays like that from Doma, that kind of unexpected to see him kind of re-peak on the short when he knows that it's 3, potentially even 4 players stacked up behind that. But again, FNATIC, they have rounds to play with. They can do things like this to catch crew off guard.
Still can't believe Doma got away with that. That was absolutely nuts. Do you have the scout looking, you know, we've got the kind of classic purchase to come through. I'm not sure if I love that from Durka and Doma. This is, yeah, I'm not sold on the Marshall at this point, if I'm honest, but you can see it's done absolutely nothing. And it's gonna be a quick lean towards A. Yeah, the chase is on, but at this point, Bulldog recovered. That's gonna be for Mystic, but Boaster left with very little. And yeah, no real impact. Yes, Mazzino's down, but that's about it.
And let's look for them to do as much damage as possible, especially in these early rounds here, to kind of stop that momentum building for crew. Again, it's the big thing crew are looking for here. They're clean round wins, right? Saving as much as they can going through, not having to worry about armor repurchases, weapon repurchases. Klaus playing perfectly off the turret there to deal with Boaster. Mystic, I expect, actually, with that Marshall purchase, potentially to save this through. Okay, he's actually going to come through and try and dive to the spike as well. Maybe keep somebody on the site. Yeah, it tries to send out a sound cue to make him believe, but not going to work, and he will fall.
Okay, 4 alive. Second round converted. Not too much damage done off the back of that investment from Durka. I mean, they've got rounds to play with. Fair enough. But I guess why not try it? Like, I'm normally such a proponent of people trying to kind of switch things up a little bit and actually go for, you know, unique plays, but these flashes just... Was that a team flash, or did that get popped, or was it shot? It did look as though he was absolutely team flashed, but Mystic just still able enough
still
to convert at least the kill. Yeah, it's like, alright mate, fair enough. No worries. But rifles are out completely for FNATIC now. This is where, if there is going to be a comeback, it has to start now. There's no two other ways about it. It has to be now, and crew going to opt to stick on what they've got. They don't have many other options, it seems as though. So this is a huge round for crew if they want to have a chance, at least in map 1.
I love this as well. Durka instantly walking mid, and as soon as he gets to the bottom, FNATIC know they can lean towards A. Again, they got the Killjoy set up over on C. You can sit in garage and comfortably control that side, but FNATIC now can put a lot of emphasis if there's any presence shown. Actually, Doma investing the wall on sewers makes it pretty much only A long that crew can make a play on for the time being. That wall expiring, Boaster gonna pop a star at the top of ramp there. You can see that gets popped as well, and they're gonna be in a good position to greet crew on the way in here.
Yeah, the fast flank from Durka is gonna be there as well, so I want to keep my eyes on that. Mystic, happy to stand here. He's going to get the advantage on the fight to start with. Big trade for Mazzino, but still, Doma's still in place. This is a shutdown. The flash came out, but didn't blind him enough to be able to get away with it. Boaster now on the site as well. Mazzino with it all to do. A 1v3 presented. This would have to be an ace to save the side. And FNATIC deny. They keep 2 standing, and they get to 11. Crew needed that, and it just fell to pieces.
And actually, timing-wise, that played into Crew's favor because I think Boaster actually drifted back into A linker. I guess to reset and put that star over on short when I guess the information was relayed from Mystic that, you know, actually nobody's pushing through yet. Plays inside here. Actually finds 2 on the way in. Doma will find the 3rd as well. And again, just a really well-considered round for FNATIC off the back of just walking mid. Honestly, Durka walks down mid and they know they can lean away from the side of the map.
They don't care about the turret. They're just going to instantly start this. Magnum takes the fight. They are playing like the favored team here. And I like that, the confidence to come in and play to your level rather than the opponent's. Klaus is down. Durka's still pushing up here, looking for another fight. Finds it. Walks away, says, I've done some damage. I don't mind anymore. But they did lose Doma in the meantime. Now, that's actually something that could cause FNATIC some struggles.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this match, I mean, the one thing FNATIC are known for are these defensive executions. And Jay actually will find Boaster. Like I was saying, being extremely proactive like this, if they can keep finding success, they will just dismantle the default from Crew. Oh, okay. Actually, I missed an opportunity to line 2 up there and actually find that Magnum. Gonna catch the audio cue though.
Hold on.
He's gonna be in a perfect position to catch coming out.
Have I told you about Magnum's 1v3? It starts like this. He gets the first, that's a spike now. Lost, but the trade came out as a different round. Nagzit's gonna find it, and Crew managed to stay alive, and they met the ungodly aggression, and they've managed to work their way forward. So, as it stands, 11-5. But I don't think we've seen a normal FNATIC round. We've had Durka walk in mid, we've had this madness, that re-aggress constantly. They are just pushing Crew now every single time.
The other thing is and usually we would see FNATIC just throw everything on the line to fight for A lobby control. And it's usually, you know, Magnum to hold down mid, garage, and C in the first kind of 15 to 20 seconds in order to achieve that. Here, actually, we're seeing a complete switch up, and I guess actually they're respecting Crew's setup a lot more than I was anticipating. Dirk actually going to find Nags here very early on. The wall gets invested.
Toxin screen down.
Now, there's a little bit of danger to this round. Looking at the armor with Doma, looking at a little bit of light armor with Magnum. There is a rifle with Durka who's got his HP back up now. You can see Crew now taking their time. FNATIC, would you dare go? I guess you don't have much to lose. You want to try and thread the needle, find that timing, but Crew seems so aware of the possibility. Klaus is going to be on red alert after those last couple of rounds.
Yeah.
Crew really need to be watching everything. They can't take it for granted. Boaster's already going walkabouts in mid. He's got Durka by his side as well. So as Crew do progress towards A, there is going to be that little bit of a notion in the back of their minds going, okay, maybe there's a time limit on this. Okay, and there's a flash. So information found for FNATIC, but Mystic's going to be outgunned in this one. Flash comes back in from BNJ. And actually, investment of the ult, but with the slow towards short, going to deny quick progress here. And FNATIC can just wait at the back of sight.
Yeah, 2 players being tucked in hell makes this really difficult for Crew. They've got to come through and deal with these players. They don't have sight control just yet. Durka with a Magnum in hand as well. The 3rd on the round for him.
He can't get away with this. How on earth has he been allowed to get away with this? FNATIC turn it to 12. And in any essence of Crew, just for a second having a lapse in judgment, FNATIC punished from the backlines. Durka finding the space to operate when he really shouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, and I mean, with the lockdown being invested, all they need to do is have somebody come up long. And they spot that out. They spot that there's going to be 2 players in hell. Just, yeah, really, really strange. But Durka gets away with murder, you got to say it. Finding the 3rd on the round initially there, and then finding the 4th. And
they're walking mid.
Invested as well.
Durka's just walking mid at map point, and he's got 2 kills. He's on fire right now, and he wants to keep going, but Klaus denies it, extinguishing the flames, so they're starting to build through mid. Doma, though, on the push as well. This is dominance from FNATIC at 13-5. Map 1 is a wrap.
And that ends in the fashion that I would have expected early on from FNATIC, right? And again, you give them an inch, they take a mile, and those are the sorts of rounds that they just look so damn good. Boaster, happy with that one. Very, very happy with that one. And a brilliant performance on map 1 to open the series here. This was, for me, the perfect map for FNATIC to get the ball rolling on, Lauren.
All right, I need to take a second to get my thoughts together. I'm sure FNATIC want to get all of the considerations in place for map 2, but before we get there, we'll be heading to a very short break, and when we're back, let's see if KRU can double down and bring this one back to a third, because they're gonna have to try and deliver here. It's all on the line now. I don't know which way this is going, but FNATIC have turned up and made a hell of a statement in map 1. So guys, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment's time with map 2.